Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really rich sources you've shared about Palm Sunday.
Hmm.
And today, our mission really is to get under the surface of this event.
Right. It's more than just history.
Exactly. It kicks off Holy Week, marks Christ's entry into Jerusalem, but it feels bigger than that.
It really does. And what strikes you immediately looking at the sources is that that stark contrast.
Yeah.
You have this incredible joy, this celebration right before the suffering and crucifixion is quite jarring.
It is. So how can one day hold both? Triumph and tragedy practically side by side.
That's the core question, isn't it?
And what does that tension tell us? Maybe about faith or even just like human experience.
Good point.
So we'll walk through the biblical story, dig into the meaning, and connect it to why it still matters now.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay. So Palm Sunday, the triumphant entry, the timing is really significant, right? We're right at the end of Great Lent.
40 days of fasting, prayer, real intensity.
And then suddenly, boom, this burst of celebration.
A very public joy. But like you said, it's just before the deep dive into Holy Week itself.
And a key thing the sources highlight is what just happened, the raising of Lazarus.
Absolutely. That miracle was, you could say, the spark. People had seen this incredible display of power over death.
Hard to ignore that.
Definitely. It shows how a demonstration of power can really sway people, get them excited.
Right. So you've got these huge crowds. They're fired up. They just saw Lazarus walk out of the tomb. They're not just cheering politely.
No, they're hailing him, Messiah, King.
And we hear that cry, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Peak excitement.
But the sources bring up a really interesting point here about human nature.
Oh.
That tendency to project our own needs onto figures like this, their Hosanna, was it purely spiritual recognition?
Or was it more hope for, like, practical help, earthly relief?
Exactly, that disconnect.
Mhm.
Yeah, it says a lot about how popular support can sometimes be, well, self-serving.
And then comes that paradox you mentioned right at the start.
Yeah, the really stark one. These same people shouting, Hosanna now.
Days later, they're shouting, crucify him!
It's central. You can't understand Palm Sunday without facing that contradiction head on.
It's almost unbelievable. And the
Yeah.
way he enters, not on some conquering war horse.
Yeah, a donkey, a lowly donkey.
There's definitely a message there. It's intentional.
Absolutely. The sources point straight to Zechariah 9:9.
The prophecy.
Behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and riding on a donkey. It's a direct fulfillment.
So not random transport.
Not at all. It signifies a different kind of kingdom. Peace, humility, not military might.
The donkey symbolizes peace. The war horse symbolizes power.
Precisely. Mercy over earthly domination.
And the crowd's actions, the palm branches spreading cloaks on the road, that's royal treatment, isn't it?
It is. That's how you welcomed kings conquering heroes.
Was it just spontaneous joy? Or maybe, were there political undertones to that, according to the sources?
Well, the sources definitely unpack Hosanna for us.
Right. It means save us now.
Exactly. And its root is Psalm 118, which is a messianic psalm, anticipating the Messiah.
So not just cheers, it's a deep plea.
A plea for deliverance, yes.
But the deliverance they wanted? It was political, wasn't it? Freedom from Rome.
That seems to be the prevailing expectation. Restore Israel's glory, overthrow the occupiers. Their idea of kingship was very earthly.
And this is where the sources really highlight the mismatch.
Critically so. Christ's mission wasn't about fighting Rome.
It was about fighting sin and death itself.
Right. That fundamental difference between what the crowd wanted and what Christ actually came to do, that sets the stage for everything that follows.
It makes that detail about Jesus weeping over Jerusalem even more heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah. Luke's gospel captures that. Amidst all the cheering, he sees the future.
He sees the city's destruction, the rejection of the salvation he's offering right then and there.
That detail is just incredibly powerful. It perfectly shows the two sides of Palm Sunday.
Outward triumph.
But inward tragedy. He knows what's coming. The rejection, the suffering.
So it's triumph, yeah, but completely overshadowed by sorrow.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've looked at the historical event, the scene itself. But this deep dive, it's about more than just what happened 2,000 years ago.
Right. The sources are clear. Palm Sunday still speaks. It has significance today.
How does the entry into Jerusalem connect with us now? That image of triumph and sorrow. What does it say to us?
Well, the sources frame it beautifully. Christ's entry isn't just a past event.
It's ongoing.
In a way, yes, he continues to enter our lives
How so?
through the Eucharist.
Mm.
For believers coming in, what they understand is his flesh and blood.
Okay.
Through prayer, the sacraments allowing him to sort of reign in our hearts. And even through acts of mercy, seeing and serving him in other people.
So it's not just remembering something, it's an invitation.
Yes. An invitation to look at where we place our hope. Is it in, temporary wins, earthly things?
For something deeper, an internal change.
Precisely. That's the challenge Palm Sunday still presents.
There's that quote from St. Theophan the Recluse that really nails this idea.
Oh, the one about the kingdom of God.
Yeah. The kingdom of God is within us when God reigns in us, when the soul confesses him as master.
That's such a crucial shift in perspective, isn't it?
How do you mean?
It moves the kingdom from being just a future hope, something out there, to being a present reality. Inside us.
Starting now.
Right now. If
Yeah.
we choose to let God reign in our lives, it's about personal transformation. Becoming, conduits for holiness, love, peace.
And this whole idea of kingship gets turned on its head with Christ.
Completely. It's not about power over others. It's about sacrifice.
His crown is thorns.
And his throne is the cross. Yeah,
True kingship, his kind of kingship, is sacrificial.
that's the heart of it. Palm Sunday's joy is completely tied to the passion that's coming.
It reminds us his reign is about self-giving love.
Love right up to death.
Yeah.
And the sources say this calls us to surrender to his rule,
Not as some distant king, but as the suffering servant.
the one who laid down his life. Yeah.
The Orthodox icon of Palm Sunday sounds like it packs a lot of meaning, too. It's not just a picture.
Oh, definitely not. Icons are visual theology. They teach through images.
So, what do you typically see in a Palm Sunday icon?
You'll see Christ on the donkey, usually blessing with one hand
Right.
and holding a scroll in the other, symbolizing prophecy fulfilled.
Okay.
Disciples following him, and then the crowd, Jews, children, waving those palm branches, the welcome.
And the city itself, Jerusalem, in the background. That must mean something, too.
It does. Its presence, the walls, it's a subtle hint. It foreshadows the betrayal, the suffering that will happen inside those walls.
A visual reminder of the coming tragedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that contrast alive.
The source also mentioned something interesting about the donkey being considered an unclean animal in some traditions.
Yeah, that's a fascinating symbolic layer.
How does that work in the icon?
By choosing an unclean animal, the icon conveys that Christ's salvation isn't limited.
It's for everyone.
For all nations, all people, breaking down barriers, offering redemption universally. It's a powerful message of inclusion.
So, turning to how this is lived out today, how does the Orthodox Church actually observe Palm Sunday? What happens?
Well, it really starts the night before, on Saturday evening, with great Vespers.
Okay.
And a key part of that service is reading prophecies, especially that Zechariah passage you mentioned, the king on a donkey.
Setting the stage.
Exactly. Then Sunday morning, you have Matins and the Divine Liturgy.
And the Gospel reading.
Usually John chapter 12, the account of the triumphal entry itself.
And the palms. Lots of churches bless palms. What's the symbolism there?
Right. Blessing palms, or often pussy willows in Slavic traditions, is huge.
Right, willows.
Often because palms aren't readily available in colder climates, but the willow is one of the first things to bud in spring, symbolizing new life.
Ah, makes sense.
But the symbolism is the same. Victory over death, like the crowd's branches. And it also shows the faithful are ready.
Ready for what?
Ready to follow Christ into Holy Week, to walk with him through the Passion.
I see.
And the prayer itself is quite beautiful. It blesses the branches, yes, but also asks for grace and protection on the people holding them.
And there are special hymns too, right? Specific to Palm Sunday.
Oh, yes. Two really stand out. The Apologetikion, the main hymn of the day.
What does it say?
It connects Lazarus' raising to the entry. By raising Lazarus, you confirm the universal resurrection. This for, we also, like the children, cry to you, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes. It captures the joy.
Ties it all together.
And then there's the Kondakion. It takes a slightly broader view.
How so?
It says, sitting on your throne in heaven, carried on a foal on earth, accept the praise. Blessed is he who comes to recall Adam.
Recall Adam.
Yeah, linking the entry not just to kingship, but to his whole mission of redeeming humanity, right back to the beginning.
Wow. Okay, so we started this talking about the paradox. Joy and sorrow, hope and betrayal, all wrapped up in this one day.
Right back to that central tension.
As we wrap up this deep dive, how do we bring that home for our listeners?
Well, that paradox doesn't just stay in the past. It confronts us now.
How?
The source asks some pretty direct questions, like, do we praise Christ on Sunday? only to betray him by Friday?
Ooh, that's pointed.
It is.
Yeah.
And are we ready to accept his kingdom? Not how we want it, but how he offers it? Sacrifice and all.
Those are tough questions to sit with, especially heading into Holy Week.
Definitely. It forces us to look at our own faith. Is it just Sunday enthusiasm?
Or is it a real commitment, even when things get hard?
Exactly. As we enter this really solemn week, Palm Sunday asks us to check ourselves.
Are we willing to drop the cloaks of pride, the things we hold on to that get in the way?
Yeah. And are we ready to wave palms of faithfulness?
Yeah.
To stick with it, even when the path leads towards the cross.
So maybe as we finish, we can echo that crowd's cry, but with a deeper understanding.
Hosanna in the highest.
Hmm.
Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Yes.
And maybe a final thought to carry away from this. How does that shocking switch in the crowd from praise to condemnation, how does that maybe reflect our own inconsistencies sometimes, our own struggles to keep faith steady when things get tough?
That's definitely something to chew on as we go into Holy Week, a real challenge.
It is. It really asks us to look inward.